Hey team, how are you going? I hope you're going awesome. For anyone that's new to my channel, my name is Alisha Conlin-Hurd, and on this channel, I talk about everything marketing and sales psychology, money, and mindset. This is based on launching over 450 different funnels in my career and being a lifelong learner of creating my dream life. And in today's video, I want to give you the 11 biggest life lessons that I have experienced to fast track your own success. So let's start with number 1. Is that success is not limited, and that other people's success isn't going to stop you from achieving great things. Now, why did I have to learn this? I'm a very competitive person by nature. And so when I was a bit younger, when I saw other people achieving things, getting pay rises, getting their dream jobs, or just achieving things that I would like to achieve, I would get a little bit jealous and think, oh, well, now that they've done that, it would kind of feel like it was going to affect my ability to actually achieve what I wanted to achieve. But once I learned that success is not a limited resource, and I got rid of that scarcity mindset that if I see other people being successful, that it wasn't going to come to me, a lot of things changed. And when I shifted my perspective, when I started thinking, okay, well, success isn't limited, that's a limiting belief of my own. And when I started realizing that I actually want the people around me to be super successful. You are the average of the 5 people around you. So if my friends are achieving more, that is just going to bump up and bring up my average. You want to help and champion the people around you to succeed more and achieve better things. So that is number 1, is that success is not a limited resource. Number 2, and that is basically everything's math, and understanding numbers is really important. And that's in business because it's all just finance and money. But when you can understand these things, you can really change your life, not just your business, but also your own life. And so number 2 is understanding personal finance. I grew up very poor. that is the reality of the situation. And I grew up with a lot of scripts about money, a lot of invisible scripts that I didn't actually realize were ruling a lot of what I understood about money. And a lot of limiting beliefs around money as well. So maybe some of these sound familiar. No, we don't have money for that. Oh, credit cards are the devil. Only rich people, bad people are rich people. And these were some of the things that were swirling in my brain, and I know swirl in a lot of other people's brains. So one of the things that I took very seriously was upskilling myself in personal finance and understanding how I can create systems for wealth. And by doing that, I was able to put 100K into my ETFs and stock portfolio within about 2 years, and I had that by the age of 27, because all I needed to do was figure out the system, and then I needed to figure out how to put more fire onto the system. So step 1 in this understanding personal finance was to create an easy system that felt right with me. To do that, I read and upskilled a lot of different ways. The 2 best resources that I could give you is 1, The Barefoot Investor, which is an Aussie book. And it might seem like, because a lot of people's parents, I think, try to shove this down our throat, and then it's a little bit like, don't want to read that. A lot of that was really good to shift the way of thinking. And also Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich was another great one. Now that's like building the systems, but then there started to be the mindset around money. So I read one of Tony Robbins' book, I read a lot of MJ DeMarco, and I watched just a lot of people and their mindset and their attitude towards money. So once I had the system set up, I had these buckets set up, I had long-term, investments, I had short-term fun, I understood exactly what my fixed costs were. Then once that system was done, I could move into putting more fuel on the fire. And that's when I started focusing on this thing called Operation Freedom. I'll go over it in another video. If anyone's interested, let me know in the comments. And that was how I was able to get about 50K in side hustle income in not very many months, basically. And that was what was able to help me to leave my job, because I proved to myself that I could actually make money outside of a job, or it helped me to get pay rises, or it helped me to negotiate commission structures so I could throw more fuel onto the fire. Now, of course, this is not financial advice, but this is how I went about understanding my own personal finance. And I think that understanding numbers, and I'm really, really bad at it, just so you know, is super important, and understanding the power of compound interest. So that is number 2, which is focusing on your personal finance. Number 3, which is not a super long one, but it's that you make your own luck. I really don't believe in people getting lucky or overnight success, or, you know, luck is going to come and it's just going to happen for you. Things take a lot of hard work. And so I think a lot of people get into this idea of manifestation, and that's really cool to have like a clear vision. But one of the things that I don't love about manifestation, or a lot of what people talk about it, is that it makes it feel like you can kind of just sit there and the universe is just going to give you things and you don't have to try. Now, I do think it's really powerful to change the lens in the way that you think and how you look at stuff and the world, because I do believe that once you start looking for that, you find those things. And that's, I guess, like why people think things manifest, but it's just psychologically your brain is looking for these things now and looking for these opportunities, but you really just are not lucky. You make your own luck. And when I say that, you put yourself in situations that are going to bring you a reward. You meet people and you build your network that are going to help you as well. Things aren't just going to fall into your lap. You have to put yourself out there and make your own luck. And in saying that, that's just being in the right place, knowing the right people, but making sure that you're purposefully working towards that. So that was number 3. You make your own luck. Things aren't going to just fall into your lap. Number 4, this one was a pretty hard one for me to learn, and I think I'm still dealing with it. And this is something that I have been unpacking in my therapy. So that is, your job is not your personality. Your identity is not your job. And when I was younger and earlier in my career, my job was everything. I was really good at it. I'm a super high achiever. I was a manager by 23. I built a team from scratch, and I was hitting six figures very early in my career. I'm only 28, so I was hitting 6 figures quite early, managing teams and in the senior management teams. That means that my identity was really intertwined in my job and what I did. I didn't really have much of a life outside of what I did. I worked a lot, too much, and it was to the detriment of a lot of relationships around me, my own mental and physical health. And I'm still working on it. I'm still getting better, but now that I know this, I can be more vigilant on when I'm sort of going down one of those dark rabbit holes of work. So this is number 4, that your job is not your personality, it's not your identity. And I think for high achievers, that's really hard to differentiate. And it often makes people stay in jobs longer than they need to, because that identity is so intertwined with what they do. So it makes it like you stay in jobs longer than you should, you stay in roles longer than you need to, because you're not sure who you are without that job. And I really, really understand this, and I really wish that I thought about this earlier in my career and didn't put so much of my self-worth on how I was doing at work. And as like a 4.A to this, I wish I didn't give everything to my jobs all the time. And I did. I really gave everything spiritually, mentally, physically to these jobs. But that meant that I didn't often have enough left for me in the relationships around me. And I wasn't putting enough back into me and enough into learning. And it was quite a trap working in these environments that require so much from you. And it's not a bad thing to be in a high demand job that's really hard. The business I'm in, running a business is super hard, yeah? But you always have to remember that you are a person and you are not what you do. And so just remember that you are a person, and to really figure out who are you, and it's not what you do. And I'm still figuring that out. So maybe I'll come back in a future video and give you some of the systems that I use to figure it out. But just remember that never give more to your job than you give to yourself. That is one of the biggest things that I've learned. Okay, number 5, and that is that ideas are useless if you don't take action. Now, I want to dissect that a little bit, because people are often on 2 sides of this fence. One is it's hardcore, ideas are pointless, it's all about execution, like violently execute this thing. And the other thing is more like if the execution is cooked, but the idea was good, it's not going to matter. And so I do believe in a bit of a middle ground. I believe that it's important to have a good idea, but I do believe too many people get stuck on this idea of perfection and they get this analysis paralysis and then they don't take any action. And so it wasn't until I started taking action on things and being horrifically shit at them the first time that I did them, such as doing some side hustle stuff, starting this business. When we started this business, it was not called Persuasion Experience. It was actually called, it went through a few renditions. First, we tried to start some e-commerce stores. We were pretty convinced that we wanted to be e-commerce store owners, and this is kind of hard. We did a couple of different stores, and then we were email experts, and we were convinced like that's where the money's flowing. We're going to be an e-commerce email agency. But it wasn't until we were getting the signals from the market and the feedback from the action that we were taking that we actually ended up where we need to be. And Persuasion Experience has gone through its own evolutions quite a lot actually in the last 10 months, just because we're taking action, and then we are constantly evolving based on the feedback that we get from the action. However, what we could have done was just sit there in our jobs, not ever started anything, not ever taking that leap of faith, and just constantly planning and writing it down. And we did for years before we actually took that leap. And so what I want you to take away from this is, yes, ideas are useless without execution, but it's all about taking action, and taking action is the most important thing you can do. What you think is perfect will never be the idea of perfection to the people you're trying to serve or the people that are going to pay you. So just naturally take time and be okay with failing. There's no such thing as failure as long as you learn from it. The only failure is if you keep doing the same thing and getting it wrong, or if you don't learn from it, if you don't actually then course correct based on that feedback. So instead of calling something failure, I just think of it as feedback. Okay, that's feedback, course correct. And you just keep adjusting, and then you get to where you need to go. There's no such thing as an overnight success or somebody getting it right the first time. All of these people, all they've done is you didn't see all of the shit that it took them to get up to here. You see this little glimmer and then you see the success. But that is not what happens. I'm telling you right now, you have to go through that to get to the celebration, the happy part. So that is number 5. Ideas are useless without taking action, and the action will give you the feedback, not the failure, to get you to where you truly need to go. Number 6, and that is you can do anything. Anything at all. I believe in you. I believe in myself. I believe in the people around me and the people that I love. They can do anything, but they cannot do everything. They cannot do everything all at once. And that is something that I had to learn, because for so long I tried to be everything to everyone and do everything and say yes to everything. So once I learned that actually what I'm saying yes to automatically means that I'm saying no to other things. Yeah. So when you say yes to something, you automatically say no to other opportunities. And I know this can be hard for some people. I get massive FOMO and I like to be part of everything. I'm a huge recovering people pleaser. I love to be everything for everybody. But once I learned that I cannot do everything, I had to think about, well, what's important to me and my goals. And the way to do this was to really figure out my values and where I want to be in 1 year, 2 years time. Side note, I find it really hard to plan for 5 years in the future, and people that have those 5-year plans, good for you, not for me. And what I really like to do is plan about 18 months ahead. And so now I can have a bit of a framework where I can think, okay, does this opportunity, does this thing, does going and doing this, does it fill my cup? And does it help me to get to my end goal? Is it going to help me fulfill my vision? And if the answer is no, then I don't do it. And trust me, I'm still getting better at it. It's still taking time to be good at that, but I'm getting more comfortable with saying no. And one of the things is you don't have to say no, because that's it's very harsh to the human ear to hear the word no, but You can deliver that in other ways, like if your friends are asking you to come out, but you know you want to work on your side hustle the next day, or if your job is asking you to take on more responsibility, but you know that you actually can't. There's other ways to deliver it. So for example, in your role, if your boss asks you to take on more responsibility, just if you know that something's going to have to slip, just say to them, hey, I can do that, happy to help. However, something will have to slip. Here's my to-do list. What would you like me to bump off of that? Or if it's your friends and they want you to go out and have a crazy night, just like, hey, I'd love to catch up. That's not really my vibe at the moment. Why don't we do coffee on a Monday? So there's other ways where you can skirt around it. Also, if you're just a bad bitch, you can just say no and not do it. Whatever, it's you. So that is number 6. You can do anything. I know you can, but you can't do everything. And what you say yes to automatically means you have said no to other things. Number 7, and that is knowing your values. Knowing your values and understanding what you stand for is so invaluable in your life, and a lot of it helps you to set up boundaries. So allegedly, I have not had very good boundaries for the last 27 and a half years, and that means that other people's wants and boundaries actually come in and permeate my own, and that it just causes a lot of friction on your soul and your psyche and mentally. So you want to understand what your values are and how you can live to those and how you can make sure that you are living your authentic life, etc., etc. A lot of this used to sound really woo-woo to me. Anything around like spirituality, authentic self, this kind of stuff just triggered like, okay, lady, cool, like whatever you say, bit weird. But the more I learned about it, like you really realize that your body and who you are, yes, there's you, the physical self, and you go to gym and you do whatever, you go to the doctor, that's great. Then you have your mental health and hopefully you're looking after that. But you do really have this idea of spirituality, and it doesn't have to be religion, but it does have to be really knowing yourself and who you are. It's been a very long journey for me, but I think it's super, super invaluable to understand this. And one of the best exercises that I've done to do this is to figure out what my values are so that I can make sure that I'm living with those. Because you can really, when you're in a situation and something happens and you don't act the way you want to, and then it plays on your mind a lot. For example, one of my values are fairness. And so once I was in a previous workplace and somebody was a higher up manager, even higher up with me, was bullying basically a person who was maybe lower in the hierarchy than me in a pretty public arena. And it made me feel very uncomfortable, and it had happened numerous times, and I didn't say anything at the time. And it really played on my mind a lot, and I feel really bad about it now, but it's because I wasn't acting in my values and I didn't really know what they were. I just didn't know what I stood for. I knew it made me uncomfortable, but now that I'm really clear on what my values are and who I am, it makes it a lot easier to have a framework to act in the moment. And it takes time, but knowing who this is and really working on yourself to understand who you are and what you stand for is going to be super beneficial for you. Okay, number 8, and this is one of my favorite ones, and that is you are your number one asset. The number one asset. It's not your money. It's not some car you have. It's not some mortgage that you own. It is you. You are your number one asset, and you should act accordingly to keep reinvesting in that asset. And what do I mean by that? You should be working on upskilling yourself, personal development, professional development, as much as you humanly can. And additionally, what do I mean by that is it's awesome to invest in stocks and in a home or whatever you want to invest in. However, what a lot of people should really be doing in their early 20s is investing that money back in themselves to make themselves a more valuable asset. So while I said earlier in the video, I worked really hard and I got my first 100K into my ETFs, I've totally put a hold on my investments at the moment. So this year has been what I've called the year of Alisha, and I have been reinvesting my money back into myself, whether that is therapy, courses, whether it is coaching, whatever it is, I am really focusing on reinvesting money and time and energy back into myself and making myself stronger, better, faster, smarter, etc. So think of it that way. How can you upskill and learn every day? For me, the best way to do that is I know what things that I want to upskill in and what I want to learn about, and I have to make it really easy for me. So I have like the courses, or I have the books, and I have them easily accessible. I do think that if you don't rule your calendar rules you. So my calendar is very blocked out in terms of how I like to live my day and how I like to live my week, so that I'm reminded of what I need to do, because I find it hard when I have like 30 minutes or an hour here to remember what I need to do and to make sure that it's somewhat productive. But also remember, sometimes you just need downtime and you just need to relax and recharge as well. So for this one, it is you are your number one asset. Upskill and learn every day. And it doesn't have to be something hard. Ideally, you're in a role that you love and enjoy, and a career that you love and enjoy. And so that upskilling and that learning for you isn't tedious. It doesn't feel like you're in school. It feels like you're learning and expanding your brain and really enjoying the process of learning. And if you're not, it's probably a cue that's not the right job for you. But if you're not and you just want to learn something new, this process of learning really invigorates me. I love learning new things, and having a really open, curious mind is something that's going to help you to build yourself up as an asset and to become really, really powerful. Number 9, and that is time is your most precious resource. And so I recognize that this one and a lot of these, some of them are a bit cliche, or you've heard other people say them before. And this is why this actually resonates with me now. And that's because time is a finite resource. Money is infinite. You can, like, money doesn't stop. If you really believe that you can bring money in and you can get rid of your limiting beliefs around money, that's an infinite resource. It will come and it will go. If you lose money, whatever, you can make it back, and you can make it back tenfold. But what you can never, ever, ever get back is your time. And that really changed my perspective around who I hung out with, and taking out the negative people in my life, or the people that didn't fill me with energy and joy, and the people I didn't enjoy hanging out with, and the situations that I didn't want to be part of, but I just felt like I had to. I felt obliged to be part of these situations. And I started to strip these out of my life because my time is finite. And that also goes for meetings at work. If they don't need to be an hour, don't make them an hour. Most meetings can be in 15 minutes. Like a few people think it's really good to do them in 5-minute increments, and I agree. So not 30 minutes, do it in 25 or 20 or 15. We often give meetings the time that we think they need, and they'll expand to take up that time. But really just start doing a bit of a time audit. How do you spend your time? I bet me previously, and me sometimes, depending on the mood I'm in, and a lot of other people, you might spend a lot of time on Netflix, scrolling mindlessly on your phone. I've deleted the social apps off of my phone, and I have a timer on my phone so that I can only do certain things for 15 minutes a day until it times me out. All these different things, because I don't want to look back and think, wow, I'm so glad I spent 3 hours a day scrolling Instagram reels on my phone and then spent 2 hours on Netflix that day. Because even if I could just carve out 30 minutes, and don't get overwhelmed, just carve out 10 minutes, just carve out 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just say, hey, I'm going to read 1 page of this book. And then once you get started, you get into that flow. So that was a really, really big one for me, is that time is precious, and the actions that you take in your time can compound as well. So those actions that you take with your time, they can compound. And the actions that you do today and the things that you read now are who you're going to be in 5 or 10 years time. And there's a lot of things that I do now, and a lot of ways that I think that compounded over time, over the last 2 and 5 years, that have brought me to be the person that I am today and the things that I know today. And it all compounded. So it wasn't that I read one book and I knew about personal finance. It's that I upskilled relentlessly for a couple of years, and now I have the systems and I can read and watch stuff if I want to. It doesn't really interest me, to be honest, because I have my systems now, and now I work on how to make more money. I don't need to get better at building the systems. I've got those systems. And when my circumstances changed and I started this business, I didn't pay myself for 4 months or longer. And when I did start paying myself, it was half what I used to earn, but I already knew the systems and I could just make that system work for the new amount of income. But what I really want to focus on is making more money, because I think my energy is better spent there than penny pinching or creating these systems, because there is the law of diminishing returns. Anyway, that was a side quest. We're back. Time is your most precious resource. Use it wisely. Okay, number 10, and this is the second last, and this was quite profound when I learned this, and now when I reflect on it, yeah, it was pretty interesting. And that was, the things that you don't like in other people are usually the things that you don't like in yourself. And I found that so mind-blowing when I first thought about it, and it was. For example, sometimes people that are meek or unconfident frustrate me. Like, why are you being like that? And it's because I hate that when I see that trait in myself, and it's no reflection on them whatsoever. It was actually a reflection on myself. And so often if you think, oh, I don't like that person, one, you're maybe jealous of a trait they had and wish you had it, or two, they act in a way that you wish you could, or it's a trait that you don't like within yourself. And I'm not going to dive into this one too much, but just think about it. The next time it triggers in your brain, oh, I don't like that person. And maybe they just got some bad vibes and it's a good warning sign. But often you'll probably start to find that it's something that you wish you had, or a trait that you wish you had, or something that they have that is something that is like a self-reflection on you. And it's something that you don't like about yourself. Be interesting for you to reflect on. And number 11, don't have that many fingers, but here we are, number 11, and that is self-compassion is really one of the most important skills that you can learn. And it's a skill that took me about 28 years to learn. And the funny thing is, especially for a lot of women, I can't talk to the male experience, but I know for a lot of women, we find it really easy to be compassionate to others and to give others excuses or leeway and go, oh, well, they might be tired. Oh, well, this is happening. Oh, and giving other people compassion. And it's really hard on ourselves, and we have these mental scripts where we're always like, that's not good enough. You're not trying hard enough. That's a lame excuse. All of these things kind of eating away at us and never showing ourselves compassion, or that it's okay if we didn't succeed, or it's okay if we need to rest. And it's really one of the most important skills that I'm still learning, but want to conquer. And I don't think it's something that you'll have instantly or you'll ever probably truly gain and know and conquer, but it's something to always be working on, to be mindful of. What are those scripts that you're telling yourself? Because the things that you tell yourself is kind of what you become, and it's what you outwardly project. So if you can't give yourself compassion, it can be really hard for people to treat you the right way and for you to treat others the right way. And so I found the more compassionate I could be with myself, the better my life has truly become. And a lot of that hustle culture I've been able to shake off as well. Okay, so that's it. That is all 11. And a lot of my videos on this channel have been really funnel, landing page, whatever, focused. And if you are one of my subscribers, or you've just found my channel and you enjoy learning more about mindset and wealth and those sorts of things, let me know in the comments, because I do truly believe that there is more to us than what we do in our jobs. And the better you can understand yourself, the better marketer you will become. And definitely the more I've understood myself and the more I've understood how I think, it's helped me to reflect on how others think. And it's also just helped me to unlock new levels of growth, both personally and professionally. So I really want this channel to be about not just marketing and funnels and landing pages and the tactical stuff, but also a lot of around that persuasion and that psychology and the way that we think, because I'm very big on self-improvement and personal development. So if you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments, but also let me know if you could go back and give your younger self just one piece of advice. What would it be? Thanks, team. You've been awesome. I'll chat to you soon. Hope you enjoyed today's video.